Hello, CEL Social Media Adventure Explorers. I am doing this short screencast to focus on the final big assignment learning plans. So here I am on the learning plans assignment interface. And if you're wondering, well, how do I do a learning plan? There's a good start here with, if you click on the learning plan template, it will take you to a Google Doc. You don't have access to it in the sense that you can actually open this up, but you can certainly do the copy, the select all. You can copy it all, and then put it in and paste this template into a Google Doc, which is what I recommend that you do. And as you can see, this is for you to fill in with some directions. And then it says, don't forget to save. So you create a new Google Doc, and you've done this before with collaborations. It's just a little bit different because this isn't a collaboration, it's just the link to the template. And with that, I'm going to go back here, and you are going to be asked to identify something you already have to teach to your students. Now, some of you don't have students, so you may model your lesson plan on something you thought was effective that you've experienced as a learner. Please don't copy, but you can use that as a springboard because we all start from our own experience. Some of you are not in a teaching learning environment, so you're going to have to adapt what you are creating to your audience to meet your needs. So for an example, so maybe you've got a small business that you've started and you're promoting your product through the internet, and you want to teach your consumers about your products. So say you've got some lotions that you're doing, and you're particularly a very important part of your product is the organic feature, the natural use of herbs and oils and things like that. So you can actually kind of create a little lesson about the quality of your products and engage your audience in learning about your product and why it should be extra special, or what is extra special about it. So that's just kind of off the top of my head. So you're going to have to be a little creative, a little bit more creative, or do some more thinking outside the box. We're going to go take a look at the template, but we're definitely asking, essential to a learning plan is identifying what is it students are going to know or be able to do, these learning goals, after having experienced whatever it is you are constructing, the plan that's directing the activity. And then you're going to be using resources. You're going to actually identify the resources that you're going to use in this plan. They may not be the end all and be all and the final ones, but you actually have to go out and do some exploration and find the resources and populate your lesson plan with these resources that you found. And then this is really important because I won't share an example, but we certainly have received lesson plans for this assignment in the past where it's a great lesson plan, but they don't use social media tools. So you have to incorporate that. So don't forget about the social media aspect as you're trying to deal with these different components in your learning plan. And then integrating what you've learned in your experience in this course as part of your learning plan. Yes, you can work in a group. You each have to contribute to the final product. So, and of course you're welcome to do it individually because sometimes it's just plain old easier. And then you'll be posting and responding to each other's learning plans. I also provide feedback, and you'll see a little bit in some samples I'm going to highlight in this little video. So once again, let's go look at the learning template. It does come from ISTE, the International Society for Technology and Education, and if you don't want to use this learning plan template, that's fine. But whatever learning plan template you use, make sure it has a lot of the same components, and then you must need to identify where you got your learning plan template from. So with that, I'm going to go to an example. So here we have, I'll bring it over here and resize it a little bit. This is an example from a secondary classroom, and it's a communications and government class. And specifically, you can see here, here's a title for this particular learning activity. And I did take the creator name off. You can see the grade level is senior, so 12th grade. And it would be used in a government civics application area. And because this is a traditional teacher, she's done an exceptional job of identifying measurable, and I'm going to put my quotey fingers up, measurable goals and learning objectives. So things that you can actually be assessed. And as you remember, we're in the student assessment and engagement module. So assessment is the measurement of learning. So over here we have, you'll notice like write, read, interpret, clarify, and you don't need to have this many learning goals, but you do have to have the ones you do identify have to be measurable. And your project might be a very small targeted lesson, or it might be larger. We're going to be looking at an example of a larger scale lesson plan. And here's some background or prior knowledge. What do your learners have to know before they're going to be successful building on that knowledge in your learning plan, the activities that you have designed for them? And so this particular person is, if they're going to share this plan, they're addressing different audiences. But this one is focused on vocabulary. So you can always add to the lesson plan, but that doesn't mean, but please don't take away from the lesson plan in terms of the template. So prior to engagement and use of social media and these online activities, in this particular instance, it's going to be pre-teaching content and vocabulary, which is going to be necessary to actually doing the reading. Very important. Background knowledge. And there's a variety of resources listed here. And use of different social media tools. In this particular lesson plan, you can see that they've got, there's wikis, there's Facebook, there's Twitter. I have to remember when I highlight those things to draw your attention to them. The screencast will make them more readily apparent what I'm looking at. And then we have essential questions. And then procedure. So this is really important because really all of it's important, but this is where the rubber meets the road in terms of what type of information do you have to share with students in a blended or online learning situation that's going to help them be successful meeting those learning outcomes. And once again, I already highlighted here about wiki pages where these social media tools actually fit in. And then back here I noticed the use of the hashtag for research. And of course now I can't find it, but it was in there. And we have a Facebook closed group. These are things that we experienced in this class. So going back to the original activity directions asking you to bring it all together and integrate and apply some, if not all, of what you've learned in our experience this semester. And then what you're going to need to do as an instructor, management, which in this case is going to be for a blended classroom. And even in an online environment, there are some management issues, especially if you're going to be having your students involved or your learners involved in a group project. And here we have this particular person who's very much into differentiated instruction. And then I can see here the use of the assessment. Learner rubrics. Now in this particular instance, this student did not provide a learning rubric to go along with their lesson plan. So I'm going to close that one out and I'm going to save. But we have here another example. This is a bigger project. This is for a whole science fair, and this is at the 4th or 5th grade level. But once again, they used the template provided. And in this instance, because it's fourth and fifth grade, in this context, we have New Mexico standards and benchmarks, and we also have the ISTE standards. So if you want to include those or they're appropriate for your teaching learning situation, please include them. Or maybe if you're at an undergraduate level, you're going to want to include how your activity meets Common Core standards for undergraduate students. And once again, we have a prior knowledge, and in this instance, this particular student also provided links to and the documents that went with, like the investigations planning sheet and stuff. And here is where we start to bring in the social media with Pinterest, and in this case, the appropriately kid blog. But blogs and wikis are perfectly as great social media tools. And then our essential questions. Now you'll see here how this is a 2-month, 8-week project, and how the instructor, the lesson plan is broken down into the various weeks, chunked. Once again, the assessment and this particular instructor or lesson plan involved the rubric, and I can go see the rubric that's going to be used to assess this instructional activity. Here are some resources that are used, the social media links. So the more detail, the better, the more likely your lesson plan will pass with flying colors. I do provide feedback, and on the next example, I do take your lesson plan seriously. This is not a fluff final activity. It's just a functional final activity versus a test or a paper. And here we have a learning plan where one of the comments I made to this particular person is, this information here as a title is really not a title. It gives me a great snapshot of how they are using social media and integrating that into providing health education, but the title should be something for your audience, not for as a description, although of course a good title is captures the key words. And the overall goal, which is a course level goal. And over here you can see I have provided some comments over here on the side. So when you do upload or submit your final learning plan, which I believe is due December 3rd, I do my very best to turn it right around and get it back to you with feedback so you can improve it. And here is the blending of the social media. So some of the plans come in great shape, and some need improvement. And for those of you who haven't done this kind of thing before, I'm sure maybe these examples will be useful to you. And in this particular instance, this activity is using Learnist and Digo, which is certainly something a lot of you have experienced this semester. And this instructor did not use the template, but certainly covered all the key ideas. And then they also used MindMeister and VoiceThread, which can, depending on how they're used, can be used as social media tools. Once again, here are the resources that enhance this. So I, as an instructor, let's say I was in public health at the undergraduate level, I could take this plan and actually implement it. It's meant to be a useful resource, not just for this assignment, but useful resource to you, useful resource to your colleagues, and you may be so proud of what you've created, you want to put it in a place where you can share it through social media with other educators. And here's some Learnist articles. I've highlighted them there, as you can see in the screencast. And my time is running out, but I think you get the idea. And I thought this would be an easier way to share kind of this assignment without having a Adobe Connect session. And so with that, I'm going back and I'm going to wrap it up and hope that you find this useful. Please, if you have any additional questions, inbox me or put something in the Tech Help discussion thread. So thank you very much for your time, and we're done.